So, thank you, Jenny, for joining me this morning to talk about the Country Chef and Bakery Co. I'm here with Jenny Booth, who's the Chief Executive Officer of this company. And Jenny's interested in internationalizing one or two of their products to international markets. Perhaps, Jenny, we can just sort of start off by, you telling me a little bit about the Country Chef and Bakery Co. and what your organization does.
Sounds perfect. Hi everyone, to start off with. The Country Chef Bakery Co. is, for, I guess, many people probably don't even know that we exist on the sunny coast. We are a large-scale manufacturer of bakery, typically sweet products. We are currently around a $70 million business, and we provide a lot of our products into major retail. So we are heavily skewed towards private label in the Australian market, typically at the moment, around 80% private label and 20% brand. So you won't necessarily see the Country Chef Bakery in a lot of places, but the plan is for that to change. But we have 4 pillar products, Pavlova, where we are category leader. There's not a lot of other Pavlova manufacturers in Australia, especially at our scale. We do supply Coles, Woolworths, Aldi, IGA. So when you do pick up either our brand or a private label brand, typically it's us that makes it behind the scenes in Caloundra. So in addition to Pavs, though, we also do meringues. So everyone knows, I guess, a smaller version. It tends to be a bit crispier. We do those products, and then we also have our third pillar, which is banana bread. And again, we supply largely into major retail. And then the fourth, but definitely not last, is cupcakes. So we have a delicious range of cupcakes that we make as well. So lots of baking. As large scale, we have about 250 employees during our peak season. And that's part of the reason why we are looking abroad, because as you can appreciate, when it comes to doing largely seasonal products such as pavlova and meringue, our production is very heavily skewed to 9 months of the year to make sure that we can supply Australian consumers all their Christmas needs.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, if I'm at Woolies or Coles at Christmas time and I'm wanting to pick up my pavlova for Christmas lunch, that's it. Oh, how exciting. I didn't realize that. That's really interesting. And you're based in Cobold Park as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Bells Creek, I think people call it. But yes.
I think I came down there to see Kilcoy Global Foods as well.
Just down the road.
Yeah. Oh, great. Sounds good. All right. So that's a great introduction to your company, Jenny. What about your previous foray into international markets? Have you done anything previously, and what did you do, and what was the success of those?
Good question. So again, this is sort of largely a lot of my research, because I've sort of been within the organisation for just over 5 months. So nothing exported in my time. The organisation did do a lot of research and went overseas, as salespeople and individuals to scope out markets. To my knowledge, nothing has been exported to date. So the exploration was done pre-COVID, and then obviously COVID hit, so the brakes went on. Some of the countries that they did look at included Japan. I believe South Korea was included in there. Malaysia, I think, might have been on the cards, and Hong Kong, and perhaps Singapore. However, Singapore hadn't really been explored to the extent that I was hoping that it would have been at the time. So lots of sort of, I guess, desk work and also attending a few trade shows over there. I don't think they definitely didn't land an export strategy at the time. And then obviously COVID hit and, things changed quite dramatically.
Yeah, and we had the sort of meltdown in relationships between Australia and China as well at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
complicated a lot of things. Okay, so that's interesting. I guess a good question to ask around your products, so the pavlova and then also the banana bread. What's the typical shelf life of those two products? Just because obviously, if we're exporting food, we
Can
can
be
be concerned.
challenging.
Yes.
So from a pavlova perspective, once it's manufactured, it's then frozen and it can be
Hmm.
frozen for up to 12 months, so 365 days. Once it's defrosted, it has a 40-day shelf life.
Oh, okay.
So meringues, however, are an ambient product with, again, 365-day shelf life. But for, I guess, to ensure the quality of the pavlova, it is frozen. It allows us obviously to manufacture at scale. And then, obviously then the retailer, the process is that they obviously acquire it frozen and then they do a thaw back process, which is very common with major retail when it comes to most bakery products.
Okay, interesting. All right. So, what types of markets are you actually interested in then?
Well, when it comes to something like pavlova, I think it's important to understand the business problem because then I think it then scopes some of I think it then alleviates or limits, I think, the opportunity to certain countries. So pavlova is quite a unique product, right? So we're
Yes.
very familiar with it as Australians. It's been
Yeah.
part of our, family upbringing when it comes to everything at Christmas, but you have to also appreciate that it's not necessarily a familiar product in other countries. So really a country that has some form of existing consumption of pavlova would be amazing.
Yeah.
It then, minimises the amount that you have to spend in trying to change consumer habits.
Yes.
Given the recipe also is really part of the product and its delivery, we
Yeah.
have to ensure that we're not requiring changes to be made to the recipe.
Yep.
It's, there's only a few ingredients in a pavlova, obviously. So that is also, another key consideration. We don't want to have to be modifying the recipe in order to actually be able to sell it in those selected countries. Obviously,
Yeah.
packaging is, can be amended. Obviously, a box is easy to modify. So, whether it's, different languages and, illustrating the product in perhaps a different way, all of those things are quite acceptable. But if you sort of then consider also the other business problem is we have this big peak at Christmas. So the opportunity is how do we even out that peak from a production perspective? So we manufacture 9 months of the year to, really cater for Australian Christmas. So merely to bolt on another country and amplify that peak wouldn't be a great solution to our business problem. So really seeking a country ideally would be Northern Hemisphere, right? Because obviously they have summer at the opposite time to us. So then you'd be ensuring that you're manufacturing at a different point of the year. However, we understand that's clearly a long way away.
Yeah.
So there could be then an opportunity in countries such as Singapore, which I know from previous experience in other categories, obviously have lower barriers to entry, have a high expat population, so are familiar with, pavlova and perhaps how to consume. I guess the downfall is that you're sort of replicating that Christmas occasion a bit as well. So
Yeah.
I think people have to be somewhat familiar with it. It's very hard to enter a new country if there's no familiarity, obviously, with the product that you're selling. It requires a lot more marketing spend
Yes.
upfront
Yeah.
in order to make it successful. So I think the other component as well is understanding the supply chain and ensuring that it needs to be frozen, a frozen product that's delivered into store, and the retailers then need to have the capability to thaw back and then date code at store as well, which is
Yes.
an important thing. So, geographically, given it's frozen, it can go to a variety of places.
Yep.
Long shelf life, clearly 1 year
Yep.
gives people, it allows us to be able to move it around a lot. It's not like fresh flowers. So
Yes.
I think really, the world is our oyster if we look at it from that perspective, but limited really by how well people do know the product.
Yeah, definitely. And and I know with limited resources, it makes it difficult, but maybe that education piece is, probably an important part of larger markets.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
Um,
are also, I think the other important thing is we are, our entry into any export country would be via a distributor,
Yep.
not
Okay.
via us setting up an export office in another country. So we would be,
Yes.
at least as an entry point, looking for that, I guess, more controlled investment, and
Yep.
not just guns blazing, putting 5 people in another country. And, you know, it's an it's sort of a bolt on to our existing business.
Yeah,
What we're
definitely.
after.
And academically speaking, we often talk about that gradual approach to internationalization. You know, you might start off small, testing the waters, then, you know, you see
Correct.
how things go. And then if success occurs, then you might devote more resources to, you know, that internationalization. So,
That's right. Yes.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think it sounds very interesting. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, or that you might think students would find helpful, to help write their reports, their country entry reports, or their strategies?
Yeah, I think the other key thing to consider, obviously, it's an Australian-made product. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of countries that obviously value that very highly.
Yes.
So that's something to consider. So those countries that do place a lot of emphasis on, you know, country of origin, I think is important, and that is who we are. We do source Australian ingredients, so that's,
Yep.
you know, an important aspect. I think getting to know the product is important if you're writing a report on it. So understanding a bit about what it is, and I do have the show and tell, as I said. So if
Thank you.
they can, this is one of the products. It's our 500-gram product,
Yeah.
and just for, I guess, a bit of a thought starter as well, we are looking at a new product that's coming into Woolworths shortly, and you'll notice that the actual visual is not Christmas. So this is being
Yes.
done on purpose, and it's a smaller size. So we're looking for you know, a smaller group occasion,
Yeah.
but also looking to sort of see if there's an opportunity outside of Christmas. So I think for us is, you know, making sure, I think, that the country understands sweet desserts and can, you know, align with that, making sure we're not modifying that recipe as much as we can, and keeping, you know, close to the Australian pavlova.
Yep.
And look, you know, even if you take a look at, I think, the latest advertisement from the Australian Tourism that I know is,
Mhm.
I think, going offshore at the moment, they mention the PAV. So it is
Yeah.
iconic to Australia.
Yes.
So there is definitely the opportunity, and I think the appetite out there for us to expand into other international markets, because it's a great product. It's gluten-free as well. That was the other thing that, you know, you sort of think about some countries and, you know, some health concerns that other countries have. So
Yes.
it's gluten-free. So
Yep.
should be something that the other thing actually that we've sort of, and we kind of highlight it here, is it's a really easy to use product.
Yes.
So
So,
that's the other thing. This is around, you know, looking like the expert, because all you need is the base, and then you top it with whatever you like. So that as well is another, you know, consumer insight to think about when it comes to the style of, you know, country that we're entering.
yeah, and as an Australian, we would know that, yeah, getting some cream and getting some fruit to put on top of your pav, you know, is quite an easy thing to do. And
Correct. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I agree with you around those points around country of origin, and the fact that, you know, in markets like Japan or China, perhaps even Singapore, you know, they very strongly value Australian products, because they
Yes.
see that our environment is clean, and you know, and our products are high quality. We don't
Correct.
have any, you know, major health concerns with
Um,
our products or recalls and things like that. So it
yeah,
has a
and
very,
we're happy to share, you know, an example also of our whole product range, so you can see also the other, because we do have some smaller pavlovas that we use currently in the market here in food service.
okay.
Because, you know, sometimes, you know, the size of a household really does also impact consumption. So if a
Yep.
500 grams is just too big, because the size of households in certain countries are not that, not only is there
Yes.
a 300, but there's also smaller versions as well. So
Oh,
again,
okay. Yep.
the size of the product, there is a variance in that.
Yeah. And yeah, so in markets like China, or maybe even Hong Kong, where, you know, you might have smaller family sizes.
Correct.
Yeah, that
Something
might
to
be.
consider.
Yeah. Okay, Jenny. Well, that was really good. Thank you for your insights. From here on, then our students will work on a country report and also a market entry strategy, tied to this case. So it should be very interesting.
I look forward, and if you do have any questions in the meantime, please shout out. But yeah, good luck to the students, and yeah, let's sell some more pavlova to the world.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.